Hello and welcome to episode 303 of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at dynasty dad ff. Fly, Eagles, fly, baby. Amazing game. Absolutely awesome Super Bowl. We're both rocking the Jalen jerseys. I mean, 90% of the country loved it. If you're not a Chiefs fan, you love this game, right? Like, I'm a big Jalen Hurts guy. I'm in the Philly area. I was absolutely going crazy, and I know you've along the process, we appreciate Jalen's game. You got to love Cooper DeJean. You got to love Saquon Barkley. It was just a fun game to watch the juggernaut get stomped, harassing my son the whole game, who's a Chiefs fan. It was a good time, The most important thing out about this, though, Snoog, and I want to get your takes on the Super Bowl, but, bro, the Super Bowl's over. It means it's draft season. It's startup season. Smash Accept 17-101. I was on the clock at 9 a.m. I smashed Josh Allen. I'm ready to go. It is startup season. That's my favorite time of the year.
Yeah, I didn't do any last year because I was trying to control myself because I jumped into like 20-plus leagues after last year. So I was like, all right, no more startups. So I absolutely boycotted it all last year. But this year, I'm going to start doing some startups, especially with the startup shows that we're doing. So I'm excited to jump into this. I got Dynasty Data Lab next to me on the left with all my rankings put in for the startup. Let's get rolling on this because this is the best time of the year. I've had so many questions in the Discord, on Twitter DMs, like, I'm doing a startup. I need your help. Like, who do I take here? How do I build a good team in the first few rounds? You leave a super team, and the way you build your team in the first 5 to 6 rounds is how you build the super team. So we're going to show you how we would do it. Leaving court with quarterbacks is priority in these type of rounds. So we're going to jump into this. Dad's going to pull up the draft board, and we're going to show you how to draft and how to do the order that we would do.
Absolutely. It's a Monday morning. There's nothing better than a C4 and a startup. We can't beat this. And we've debated for years, the same guy's been my 101 for about 4 years now, and I think for me, there is no debate. Josh Allen is the 101. I'm taking him in every single Superflex format, whether it's 4-point passing touchdown, 6-point passing touchdown. He's just an absolute juggernaut. He's been the quarterback one since, the time that he took over. Like, if you look at fantasy points per game, he is absolutely the guy, and I know Lamar has really moved himself up. Last year, we debated between Josh and Patrick, and you had mentioned this already, but the 101 has to be between quarterbacks. And the settings for this particular mock draft are what Snoog and I always do. It's going to be super flex. We're going to run two quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 3 flex, 0.75 tight end premium, 6-point passing touchdowns. If you go 4-point passing touchdowns, that does vary things a lot. But Snoog, this first round has to be dominated by quarterbacks. And the reason we have to do that is because it's such a position of power, right? Like, you have Josh Allen over the QB 12, he's averaging 3 to 5 points more than that. Josh Allen over the QB 24, you're getting a dozen points or more over what that guy's producing. It's like Josh Allen is a cheat code. The other great part about taking Josh Allen with the 101, right, is the value's not going anywhere. He is in the prime of his career. You can trade him down to multiple different assets. Josh Allen is worth 4 firsts. Lamar Jackson's worth 4 firsts. And the rest of it drops off. And so many guys in their Kentucky Derbies. Mm-hmm. I had the 7th pick, Snoog, and I got the 101 because people are like, they want to get that 3-round reversal, which is big now. Yeah. I'm like, give me Josh Allen all day long.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. And who's a no-brainer is this next pick that you just mentioned was Lamar Jackson. I think these guys are in a tier of their own right now, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, because what they can do as players and as athletes is they're superstars. Like, they can play at all 3 levels of the football. They can push the ball downfield. They can run the football. They can win with their legs. They have the accuracy across the middle. They're the best fantasy football quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and they're both in a tier of their own, up on the highest of the high pedestal. They're MVP caliber players year after year, and they're like 500-plus point ceiling players and like a 6-point passing. So keep things simple. 2 best players off the board right away. That's how it should go in every league. If you want to argue taking Lamar 101, I wouldn't be like, you're crazy, but I just think Josh definitely deserves it.
I think different tradability, right? Like, last year, I was getting Lamar at like the 1-8, in some drafts, a 1-6. The year before that, we were getting him at 112, and he's still putting up elite numbers. But like the actual perception. You have to look at the likability of a player. It's like last year it was between Allen and Mahomes, but a lot of people don't like Patrick Mahomes. And it's like tradability is just as important as fantasy points. Like we all, people love. There's a lot of guys where you're like, you know what, the production, like a Jared Goff, right? The production is worth much more than the player himself. Like Jared Goff is in the same area as guys that are not producing anywhere near to the same ability. So like that's where right now I have to have Josh. I have Lamar. And then when you talk about that next pick, Snoog, for me at this point, and we have a question right here from Cizalo86. I'm on the clock right now in Dynasty Startup. I have to go Allen, right? I'm torn between him and Daniels. I like Jaden Daniels. Don't get me wrong. Jaden Daniels is my 103. I think Jaden Daniels is in this tier now. However, you have to at least contemplate the fact that there could be a sophomore slump. We've seen 1 year. Last year, this time, everybody was taking CJ Stroud 103, 103, 104. And I think Jaden Daniels' game is a little bit, especially fantasy-wise, is safer than CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud was always going to have to throw 35 to 40 touchdown passes to be relevant. Jaden Daniels is not going to need to do that. And in most times, when I talk about wide receivers, I now have Malik Nabers over CeeDee Lamb, because if the guy is younger and he's out producing, then it's easy. You take the younger guy. However, I'm at the spot with Jaden Daniels where we've seen it once, right? And we've had some situations in the past where that's there. 103 rookie pick last year, now 103 startup pick this year. There is a little bit of risk involved there. I love Jaden Daniels, but honestly, Snoog, it's one of the more risky picks in the first round. And this is where 101, I'm not getting the offers that I thought we've had in the past. Like before, you used to be able to take the 101, trade it for the 105, plus a 25 or 26 first, plus a 3-5 swap. This year, the best offer I got at the 101 was the 107 plus a 27 first. Josh Allen is worth almost, in my opinion, he's worth at least a second over Lamar, at least a first over Daniels, and 2 firsts over anything from 8 to 12. So it's like Daniels is risky. If you can move up cheap to get to Allen or Lamar, I would do it. But I don't fault anybody for taking Jaden Daniels at 2 or 3. So talk to me a little bit about Daniels, because we have to at least look at the fact that it could be a risky pick.
Yeah, I mean, he had the best rookie season of a quarterback ever, which is funny because we were just saying that last year, but he actually did this year. I mean, they made it to the NFC Championship. He turned around a franchise that took him second overall. So very incredible things coming from that kid over there in Washington. He's a guy that plays football as a dual threat quarterback, and he's electric. So he racks up fantasy points. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball downfield. He sees the field very well. He's very mature, poised in the pocket. Mm-hmm. I think the only issue that you're worrying about with a guy like that is an injury. Like I don't think you're going to see like a skill set fall off. I just think because Lamar had a lot of injuries until Lamar bulked up. And remember, there was that time Lamar was 180, skinny, and then he was 205 pounds, and everyone was like, oh my God. And then that's when he had the MVP year last year. Daniels is very thin framed and he runs careless. He is all over the place running the football. So I think that's the only worry, but you can't really predict that. So that's where it's kind of honestly, what I would do here is probably not take him and move back and take one of the other 2 quarterbacks that we're about to talk about in a second. But I'll never own Jaden Daniels, but I'll appreciate his greatness.
The scary thing is his accuracy is off the charts. It translated from college to the pros. And his honestly, his deep ball was phenomenal. His running style was phenomenal. He didn't take as many hits as he did in college. We could be easily saying he's the 101 in startups next year. He's the 103 already. He's already close to the top. It gets tricky there at 4 then. 4, I think we start to debate, what's the format? Is it 4-point rushing? Is it 6-point or is it 4-point passing, 6-point passing? And then we start to debate some of the wide receivers, where last year it was 7 or 8 quarterbacks in a row. Who are you taking here at 4?
Yeah, for me, it's still Jalen Hurts. And the reason why I take him over Burrow is 1, he's younger. 2, he already won a Super Bowl. 3, he already made 2 Super Bowls. And 4, I know the Super Bowl is people are all right, what does that have to do with fantasy football? That's a confidence career builder right there. Like you're winning
Mhm.
Super Bowls, you're making Super Bowls, you're never getting replaced. He got the big contract. He brought Philly that Super Bowl. This is a guy that has 10 to 15 rushing upside or 10 to 15 touchdown upside in the rushing game, and is a guy that can throw for 3,500 yards and 25 to 30 touchdowns in any given season. The reason why I'm so high on Jalen Hurts is he's one of those rushing QBs that doesn't rely on his rushing. Like he is like a Russell Wilson type plus rushing quarterback. Like he runs the ball a lot, but he's not a guy that is only running the foot. Like he's not like Lamar or Daniels that like he's rushing for 1,100 yards and like 4 touchdowns. Like he's getting rushing touchdowns. That Philly tush push, as long as it's him, that offensive line and Sirianni there in office, I think that's always going to be a thing. So I think Saquon helps because they get to the damn 1 yard line or 2 yard line so much, and then it's just a Jalen Hurts touchdown. And it also helps that he has A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on contracts on the perimeter with an elite offensive line. So weapon speaks for itself. Jalen Hurts, 104. I think it's like not a very easy because it's definitely between him and Joe Burrow, but I'd take him because Joe Burrow has a plethora of injuries in his career. The Bengals are a crapshoot, and he doesn't have the rushing upside that Jalen Hurts has.
Yeah, I mean, I look at last year, a lot of people were like, oh, he can't pass, can't do this, like really started to get down on his game, and he still finished as a top 5 quarterback. Then you saw what happened in the Super Bowl. I mean, he looked fantastic. There's always Kellen Moore is now leaving. He looks like he's going to be the head coach now at the Saints. What if they bring in a quarterback or a coach an offensive coordinator that's going to pass the ball more? That is in that realm. Like you saw him healthy. He ran the ball really well last game. He was hobbled for a good portion of the season, not running like he used to. The tush push, say what you want about it, but it's a damn free 6 points. Like, why do we get upset about it? He does it.
Other teams can't do it.
It's not a skill. No one else can do it. Josh Allen can't do it. He tried doing it. It was disgusting. Like Jalen Hurts is going to punch it in. They're going to be inside the red zone more than any other team. They're going to have one of the best, if not the best offensive line. They're going to score that. So just stop pretending it doesn't exist. Jalen Hurts is one of the best dynasty values at the quarterback position because production-wise, he belongs with those other 3 guys. Dynasty Data Lab and Keep Trade Cut have him as number 7 overall in your startup. Yeah. For me, I would also have gone there at that point. At 5, though, I'm going to stay with on brand here. You start to debate his teammate, but I think I have to take Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow this past season, averaging 26 plus fantasy points per game and 6-point passing is a steal. Like he's what you want. Joe Burrow has that it factor of a guy that's going to play for the next 10 years. A lot of guys in Superflex and the way we play things in Dynasty at Smash Accept, we're going to make trades. But I think my trade market for Joe Burrow is going to be better than what it is for Jamar Chase. I still have Joe Burrow worth 3 firsts, the same as Jamar Chase, but wide receivers do not carry that same amount of weight unless you're playing in, start 3 wide receivers and 4-point passing touchdowns. Joe Burrow's a smash here at the 106. I think Joe Burrow is, again, last year, a lot of people were mocking me for trading Stroud for Burrow plus, and we talk about it a lot of times with the Mahomes versus Allen. But I mean, last year, if you just play this right, you drafted CJ Stroud in your startup. And there was a point last year where you could have gotten Joe Burrow and a first for CJ Stroud. Now we're at a spot where you can give up Joe Burrow and get CJ Stroud plus a first and then another pick. So it's like taking the hot hand, taking the quarterback who just performed, and then figuring out who that next guy is always huge, Snoog, because that was something where you and I last year loved CJ Stroud. I drafted 7 shares. I now have 0 because it was like, now's the time to move, and now Joe Burrow's hot. I'm all in on him. Who are you taking here? So that's the big run on quarterbacks, right? We have 5 guys. I think that's the big
I have
spot.
another one.
Are you going to take a 6th one?
Yep.
All right. Who are you taking?
I'm going to take everybody's GOAT, even though Tom Brady will always be the GOAT. But I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes. And I know it's funny because he just got blown out in a Super Bowl. I don't care about that, though. He's still the best quarterback in the NFL. He still has that massive contract there tied to Andy Reid forever. Matt Nagy, I don't think is going to be their offensive coordinator forever. Once he's gone, they're going to the Chiefs going to have to realize they're not going to be able to win every game dinking and dunking. They're going to have to be able to to play in a shootout game with an elite offense like the Eagles. That they got to learn that Patrick Mahomes is built for that type of game. Like we've seen it. He's been a multiple 5,000-yard passer. He's been a 50 touchdown passer player. He's won Super Bowls. He's been to like multiple. He's won every single AFC championship besides one that he's been to. Like this is the guy that needs to throw the damn football and be a gunslinger because that's the type of player he can be. So I'm still buying into Patrick Mahomes. He's a guy that will be good till he's 40 years old. So it's like at the 106 with how the quarterback position is and how deep the wide receivers are, I'd take a quarterback here.
So
Connor, you can argue.
Connor got in on the last live stream we had. He got into Smash Accept 17. He put, let's go. Time to smash Lamar in Smash Accept 17 at the 103. Connor is in the Patreon. He got into Smash Accept 17. Guys, no better time to join the Patreon right now than startup season. Okay. We have our top right now. I have the top 100. By the end of the day, I'll have the top 200 in my Superflex rankings, which is kind of a cheat code for you guys that are actually drafting with me. You literally go by my rankings and talk trash. But it's just a fun time of year where you have right now Scarface is putting up mock drafts for startups, mock drafts for rookie drafts 24/7. He is doing multiple a day where if you guys want to sharpen your skills, join there. You know, Snoog's got the rookie guide coming out, which is absolute fire. We have some guys that, you know, a couple of giveaways we did yesterday. This thing Brock Dynasty put together with Snoog, it is fantastic. I'm going to tie it in with some trades and some you know, player equivalents here to make this thing just pop. But it's an awesome thing, you know, and you're going to get all of our rookie values. You're going to get all of our player values. You're going to get everything that's going to put you in position to dominate 2025 from your startup to your rookie draft to the time you cash in when league safe's like, all right, it's time for a vacation, baby. All paid through this. This is the time. So you guys got to join. $5 a month, all the way up to 20. Snoog and I do things where we've done startup assistance with guys. We've done, you know, roster evaluations. We will literally hand tailor everything as if it were our own roster. And if you don't believe us, there are now 555 guys in there who are just doing it 24/7. They're doing these drafts. They're doing the fantasy chats. I love it. Like I've literally fallen in love with the community that we've created there because everybody's just like, honestly, it's such a positive space. People come in there and talk all the time. What they should be talking about with this pick right here, Snoog, is me taking Jamar Chase, the wide receiver 1 overall at 107 here. And I think, Snoog, I don't fault you for taking Patrick Mahomes at 6. Dynasty Data Lab and Keep Trade Cut, they both have him at 9. I have seen him go all the way to 204. Patrick Mahomes, just like we just talked about, with this potential changing of the offensive coordinator, well, there will be in Philly. As soon as Nagy's gone, they could air it out more. Patrick Mahomes has the arm talent. Next year, he's got a full complement with Rice back.
Yep.
We saw Xavier Worthy pop. You know, like DeAndre Hopkins was a shell of himself. You saw that in the Super Bowl. Like he's done. But they're going to start adding pieces to that. And damn, Snoog, I mean, I'd be shocked if they don't add a killer running back towards the end of the first round this year. Like they're in a spot. But for me, Jamar Chase coming off the Triple Crown, this is the wide receiver 1 for me in Dynasty. Jefferson's pretty close, but the fact that he's
both
tied
of them back to back, so I just added in Jefferson as the next pick, so we can hit on both of them.
For me, it's Chase because he's tied to Burrow. You know, like if we see, you know, Jefferson played phenomenal with Darnold, and if we see JJ McCarthy come in and play well as a rookie, then we're like, okay, this is going to have sustainability. Jamar Chase is just that dog. If you could stack these dudes, you know, if you could trade your first from the second just to move up, because the second round is loaded with decent players, but trade your 26 first in the 204 to get up to 106 and take Burrow and Chase, you know, and move off of, you know, maybe Brian Thomas Jr. or Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm for it because this stack is lethal. I have it on so many teams, and I am super excited.
Yeah, it's funny because it's wishy-washy between the two of these guys. I think any given year, it's just going to keep switching. Like one's going to do better than the other, and then the values are going to switch. One's going to do better than the values are going to switch. Like last year, we had Chase coming off like a kind of like injured season, not the best year. And Jefferson had a really good year, and same with CeeDee Lamb. And everyone was like lower on Chase, and Chase was the third guy. And then this year, going into the season, we were all like, this is the year for Chase. Burrow's healthy. He's healthy. Like, it's going to be a big Jamar Chase year. He should be the first wide receiver taking. Then he has an absolutely ridiculous year, and now he's ahead of these guys in value. So it's funny. These guys are just going to flip-flop. But Justin Jefferson, he's like broken every single record that you could think of for a young wide receiver through his first 5 seasons. Receiving yards, touchdowns, receptions, whatever it is. All I do is know. I keep seeing like graphics on Twitter with like Justin Jefferson, Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, first receivers to do this, first receivers to do that. So he's the best wide receiver that I've watched personally. He's the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. But fantasy football, you need more than just being the best. You need a good quarterback. You need a system that revolves around you and an elite offense. So these guys are both wishy-washy here. At the 109 is where it gets fun. I think this is where you can kind of take a variety of people. I think I'm probably going to go different than what you're going to go right here, but I would be probably a hot take with who I go.
All right. So here's where we're at. Xavier Lopez says, perfect timing, my guys. I got my Superflex startup, 2 tight end premium starts in 2 hours. Here's the format, right? Like, so I could take my running back 1. I could take my wide receiver 3. I'm not touching a quarterback here for a while because the next guy I have is Justin Herbert, and I don't feel like Justin Herbert is worthy at this spot. You know, like I think for me, it's between Gibbs, Nabers, but in the format, if it's 0.75 tight end premium or more, I'm taking Brock Bowers in the first round. Like a lot of people are going to have some problems with that, but if it's 0.75 Snoog, like we are talking about, he just had the greatest tight end season ever. If you could have taken Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski in the prime of their career, and you put them into your lineup, it is such a difference maker. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is fantastic. I think Malik Nabers, you could argue in this area. And I think both of those players, I think you can replicate production semi-similarly, right? Like if I take Saquon in the 3rd, that's pretty close to Gibbs for the particular season. And if I take Puka Nacua, another 8 picks later, that's similar production to Malik Nabers. However, Brock Bowers, like Trey McBride in the 3rd is semi-close, but the fact that he's as young as he is, he's as elite as he is, I think this is just only going to get better. We saw him play as the greatest tight end of all time as a rookie with the worst quarterback play. We always talk about Garrett Wilson having bad quarterback play. Let's be honest, Brock Bowers had the worst quarterback play you could imagine. They're either going to get Shedeur Sanders or they're going to get a Sam Darnold, or they're going to go out and they're going to trade for, a Matthew Stafford. They're going to bring something in that's going to have Brock Bowers 15+ touchdown season. And now you're just going to be like, damn, like this is my only untradeable asset in Dynasty for right now is Brock Bowers. Like I'm just not moving him at anything unless I get McBride and a Hall. And we just did a show on that. So who are you taking there?
Yeah, I would have probably went with Brock Bowers too, but here at the 110, give me the best running back in the NFL that's not Saquon Barkley. And this is a guy that's still 22 years old. He's on one of the best offenses in the NFL, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Yeah. David Montgomery's getting up there in age. Jahmyr Gibbs has 400+ fantasy point upside in any given season. Just finished as the RB1, RB2 in fantasy points per game this year. This is a guy that has 1,000 and 1,000 rushing yards and receiving yard upside in a single season. Like he is that good. He's Jamal Charles and Alvin Kamara light, like combined. He's CMC. He's that type of player. So I'll make that one nice and easy for us. There's I was between 3 guys here other than Gibbs. Like it's that, like pick your poison, whoever you like. But in this format, 0.25 per carry, full PPR, give me an absolute monster of a player in Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, I love Gibbs there. For me, and K Money's on it. He said, what are your all thoughts on taking Malik Nabers as wide receiver 2, just 21 years old, about to get a quarterback, my wide receiver 2. I'm okay doing it, but I think you can move back. I mean, I think by the time the season's over, all 3 of them are going to be in a tier. Just the fact that Malik Nabers is 21, he's my pick here. I'm not even debating anything else. You go ahead and you throw Malik Nabers on there. He could, if you told me he's the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty by the time the season's over, if they would get Sam Darnold, I would agree with you. Like, I think he has the potential to be the wide receiver 1. His floor is top 5. Like he is right there. He's worthy of the first round. I want him over Bijan Robinson. Some people debate that, but the longevity of Malik Nabers, when you're talking about a startup, Snoog, we're not talking about a random trade. Like if you're in a trade situation and you need a quarterback, or you need a running back, and you need an alpha, I'm perfectly fine with you taking Bijan over Malik Nabers. I don't like it, but I'm okay with it. But when you're talking startups, you and I love to do this. We build around wide receivers, we build around quarterbacks, and then in rounds 7, 8, 9, 10, we're taking Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, like James Conner. We're just going to load up on that. But then when you look at the guys in that area, so like when you are taking, let's say, James Conner, your best wide receiver options are Keon Coleman, Michael Pittman, Cortland Sutton. Like those are not. So would you rather have Malik Nabers and James Conner, or would you rather have Bijan Robinson and Cortland Sutton? Like for me,
yeah, I
want the wide receiver. The wide receiver is the way to go in this early part of the draft. So now this is still tricky area. Like I love the value at the late first, but it is very pick your poison kind of thing. Like, do you want another quarterback? Or in this situation, like you went with the running back here, Bijan is definitely worthy of that late first round pick, possibly a screaming value here too.
Yeah, I was debating going quarterback here, but for me, Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs are head and shoulders the best dynasty finished football running backs right now, barring Ashton Junty coming into the league. Obviously, he'll be in that tier 2 eventually, but right now they're the best players. They're in the best situations. They just come off 340-plus point seasons. They're going to be guys that are workhorse running backs, scoring touchdowns, catching the football. It's drafting Alvin Kamara and CMC all over again. Those guys deserve to be in the first round of startups, because if you want to win championships, those high-end elite running backs that are young, if you can get them giving you that type of production for 5, 6, 7 years, your teams are going to be good forever. Like that's how these type of players are. So for me, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, do I take a wide receiver here when it's the deepest I've ever seen in my life in the landscape? Like what's the difference between CeeDee Lamb and Nico Collins for the next 2 to 3 years? There's not a difference, but they're between Bijan Robinson and Devin Achane, or Bijan Robinson and Kyron Williams, or Jonathan Taylor, or Bucky Irving. It's not even close. Like you're adding multiple firsts to get me to even think about it. So that's why I'm kind of like, okay, I know in my head that after Junty goes probably in this round, there's nobody that can get close to these guys besides maybe Breece Hall, but he doesn't have the situation to do so. So that's why I kind of went with Breece Hall here, because I think there's plenty of good young wide receivers left still. But there you go. I left you the easy pick.
All right. So just to cover our first round here, we had 6 quarterbacks go, 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end. Last year, there were 8 to 9 quarterbacks, 3 wide receivers, no tight ends, no.
We were bound for correction. We were bound for correction with that.
It is in a spot, but I think most drafts are going to look similar to this. I think the first 3 to 5 are pretty chalky, and then it's pick your poison. How do you like to play? You know what I mean? Yeah. If you're taking Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson in the first, then you better hit on, round 2 is loaded with your Caleb Williams, your Drake Mays. You better hit your Baker Mayfield. You better hit your Baker Mayfield. You better hit your Jared Goffs. You better hit those guys that really matter, because quarterback position is deep. I usually want to leave the first 3 rounds with 2 quarterbacks and an elite level wide receiver, and then get my tight end in the 4th. But at the way the new landscape is, if I'm not getting Bowers or McBride, I'm waiting on tight end. So I'm trying to push those guys' value up a little bit more. Those guys, the quarterbacks, and then my second quarterback I'm taking a little bit later. Here I'm taking wide receiver. I'm taking CeeDee Lamb. I don't think there's much of a debate here. CeeDee Lamb, you could tell me very easily by the end of the year is back up in that tier with the two alphas. You put him back up there with Jefferson and Chase. If Dak bounces back, if the Cowboys bounce back a little bit, I could see it happen. Worst case scenario, just like Malik Nabers, you're getting the top 5 wide receiver on a weekly basis. CeeDee Lamb is just this is value right now. Like I've seen people take Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams over CeeDee Lamb, and I'm just like, CeeDee Lamb is that good that I just can't see pushing a quarterback above him in startups yet. The quarterback position is deeper than it's ever been. Wide receivers deeper. We did our show a couple weeks ago. Out of your top 36 picks on Dynasty Data Lab, you're looking at 14 quarterbacks, 13 wide receivers. That's 27. So they're both those positions very deep. Who you going here with the next pick?
Yeah, I just want to highlight quickly for all the listeners that we're building this as a big board. So we're not like drafting like it's our teams. We're just building a big board for you guys, that what we would do with that pick with the current board that we have.
Right.
You know me, Dad. You know I love upside, and I have an absolute soft spot for a Ben Johnson-led offense with an elite type prospect and quarterback that had honestly a good rookie season for what it was. Like, it wasn't bad at all. Like, his numbers were pretty solid. He did a lot of great things. It's the consistency that he has to work on, but I think Ben Johnson's going to help with that. He's also going to help with the splash plays because that's the type of player he is. Caleb Williams is probably the only guy left on this board other than maybe Drake May that I think could sneak into that first round quarterback range again next year. Maybe Stroud too, but like I think Caleb Williams has the highest upside to get into the top 5. Like I think
Stroud would have to throw 45 touchdowns to get back up there. Like the perception. Probably. See what happens. You have that you get that hype, then you have like post hype, and now people are like really sour. He's gonna have to put up something absolutely epic for people to put him back in that first round.
Yeah, but Caleb Williams, I mean, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Ben Johnson, they have the 10th pick in the draft. Like they're building something special over there. I get why Ben Johnson took that team over. They're going to go get him another stud lineman, or they're going to land him Ashton Jundy, and then this offense is going to be unstoppable. So good luck to the teams that have to face the Bears next year, because I do think they're due for a big bounce back, and I'm all in. Like, think about it like this. So you can land Nabers, Bijan, Gibbs, Bowers, or Lamb in this range, most likely. Imagine getting Caleb Williams too in that second round as your QB1. So it's like, to me, I'm like, okay, I missed out on the first 6 quarterbacks, and I'm doing everything I can to get Herbert, Stroud, or Williams or May in the second round.
The biggest thing that we're doing here, we're not giving you chalk. Like right now, both KTC and Dynasty Data Lab have Caleb Williams at pick 22. You're not going to get him in the late second. Like he's going to go considerably earlier, and I think they're a little bit higher up on the wide receivers. I love the wide receivers. This is the part about drafting in February instead of drafting in May. Like I think Puka Nacua, if Matthew Stafford stays, is the pick. Ooh. But right now it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra is the guy. He's in Detroit. Like, you can't pass on him unless you took Gibbs before. I hate like stacking 2 guys in that same area unless you really believe in that. But I think Amon-Ra St. Brown has been a top 5 wide receiver. He's elite level usage, fantastic, but he doesn't have the trade value that some of these other guys, right? Like the wide receivers, this is wide receiver row here, where you're looking at Amon-Ra, Puka, Brian Thomas Jr., Nico, all go in this round. I think for me, Brian Thomas Jr. is the guy that's easiest to sell, because when I put Amon-Ra St. Brown on the trade block, I'll get 2 offers. If I put Brian Thomas Jr. on the trade block in any of my leagues, I'm getting 7 offers. You know what I mean? So that's that new sexy hype. But for me, I'm sticking with the proven productivity. Amon-Ra St. Brown, just like Jared Goff, he's worth more to your team than he is in a trade, which is crazy because like his startup value is right here, but his trade value is tough. It's tough to trade Amon-Ra St. Brown, even though he's going to give you every single week. He's going to be a top 15 wide receiver, and he's going to give you that upside of top 5.
Yep.
A couple more touchdowns, and I think we're seeing him, he production-wise almost belongs up there with the top dogs, but he just seems to be a value all the time. So what are you doing here with the next pick?
Yeah, and the thing with the Lions players is everyone's worried about Ben Johnson leaving. You got to understand that whole coaching staff and that whole coaching room knows that offense. Like, they've been running that offense for multiple years now. Like, just because Ben Johnson leaves doesn't mean that the Lions offense just changes completely. Like, Dan Campbell was the head coach. He's still there. He knows that offense. He knows how it works. He might not be able to add new twists and add new adjustments to it to kind of spin off it, but he knows that basic concept that they're going to run around Jared Goff. So I think Lions players are fine. Well, yeah, I'm worried for Jameson Williams, like a guy that needs this trick play to hit a home run. So that's who I worry about.
The Ben Johnson effect going to the Bears is a positive one. Him leaving the Lions isn't always a negative. It's not like we're going to drop completely off. And I feel like people feel like it has to be both. It doesn't have to be a both and. It's just Ben Johnson go to the Bears after we see what the last offensive coordinator was. Shane Waldron was not even watching tape with Caleb Williams. It's come out that Caleb Williams hired an outside guy to come in and watch tape with him because Shane Waldron would not. It's just like that's horrible run organization. Ben Johnson's going to clean it up there. Who are you taking here at now? We're at the 204. Justin Herbert last year was the 112. You're taking him here at 204.
Yeah, all day. Give me this pick here at 6-point passing, especially in Superflex, because the quarterback's are going to start going on a run in this range all the way through the third round, and I want the best of the best. Caleb Williams and Justin Herbert are that, in my opinion, right now. Justin Herbert, QB 12, 3,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, 25 total touchdowns with Stone Smart, Quentin Johnson, Joshua Palmer, J.K. Dobbins, and Gus Edwards in the run game, and a rookie wide receiver, Lad McConkey, who's great, but he was a rookie wide receiver. He was hurt some of the year. He started to turn up at the end, and Justin Herbert was on fire towards the end of the season. I mean, he had a stretch of games where he put up 20-plus fantasy points per game in like almost every single game besides 2. And he had 18 and 15.7 against KC. So I think that they're going to land Loveland, or they're going to land in Emeka Egbuka or Luther Burden with that first-round pick. They're going to continue to build around Justin Herbert. The defense was great this year. They're not going to be able to get a premier pass rusher or defensive lineman there in the 20s. That's always like that tight end, running back, wide receiver range, or maybe like a tackle or a defensive player, a cornerback falls due to injury or something like that. But they're going to land like a Loveland or one of those type of guys for Herbert. He's going to get himself another weapon. They're going to throw the ball well next year because Herbert's going to be healthy. And he ran the ball a lot more this year, Herbert did. So a little bit of rushing upside there. Not much, but a little bit. So I'm excited for him. Again, it's pick your poison here in this range, but I'm getting like one of the last few. I think there's 2 more elite young quarterbacks, and then it's like you're scrounging for these high-end game manager pluses or these unknown guys. So to me, I'm like, okay, I could get Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud, Jordan Love. They're gone, and now it's like I can get a million good young wide receivers in the next 4 to 5 rounds versus just taking a guy here. So I know you're going to go wide receiver here, so go ahead and do it.
I am, because I think normally this is Puka Nacua. Normally I'm with you there. I think, but I don't trust. I love Caleb. I love May, but I am not taking CJ Stroud, Bo Nix, or Jordan Love in the second round. Like, I'm just not doing it. I don't believe that that's going to be productive in comparison to it right now. This is what's wild to me, Snoog, is round 4 has Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, and Kyler Murray. Like, I can't do it. Like, I can't put up there, but I understand what you're saying. Like, this is why I want to get 2 elite guys. I think the big 5 are elite, and I think, Caleb is going to be in that area. I think Justin could be. I think just being safe, if I started this draft here from the 8 spot and took Jefferson and Puka Nacua, I would be elated. I mean, watch what everyone says, oh, well, Puka Nacua was going to fall off, right? Like year 1, we were talking about, he had 2.7 yards per route run. This year, 3.2. As a rookie, 6.15 yards receptions per game. They're like, he's not going to match that. Now 7.18. 27% target share as a rookie, 35.5. 17.6 fantasy points, up to 18.8. If Matthew Stafford stays and Cooper Kupp is gone, damn, like Puka Nacua could be your league winner at this point in the draft, and he has not gone up in value the way that he should have. If we saw Malik Nabers post these type of numbers his rookie year, we would see him as the wide receiver 1 overall. The draft capital doesn't matter anymore. Puka Nacua is him. Puka Nacua is the guy that you want to be investing in. Even if Matthew Stafford leaves, they're not going to, Sean McVay is not going to just bring in a rookie quarterback. He's going to go bring somebody in. He knows what's up. Stafford's towards the end of his career. They're going to bring in somebody that, has rock solid capability. I honestly think Puka Nacua is going to be a top 3 redraft wide receiver. So I'm investing wherever I can.
Love it. Love it. You want to talk about ending tiers? There's no bigger tier gap between Brock Bowers and Trey McBride and the rest of the tight ends in the dynasty landscape right now. 0.75 tight end premium.
Huge.
Give me a guy that has 350 plus point upside in a format like that here. Because to me, again, I know, okay, after McBride and Bowers, it's Tyler Warren, maybe a rookie tight end, or it's George Kittle, a 31-year-old tight end, or it's TJ Hawkinson, a guy that is like the 3rd option on his team. There's no bit. It's Gronk and Kelsey between McBride and Bowers right now. And then the rest of
Mhm.
them, you'll get your Mark Andrews thrown in there. You'll get a Tyler Eifert thrown in there. You'll get those type of guys thrown in there along the way. But these are guys that are cornerstone pieces. They're both in situations that can get much better too, in my opinion, like new coaching staffs, quarterback play for Vegas. McBride could get a whole new quarterback or a whole new offensive scheme, like a new OC, a new head coach. Like so much can change there. But right now, he's the guy there. He's getting 100+ receptions in a format like this that's 0.75. So sign me up for McBride. Who do you
I'm
want?
pissed right now. I'm pissed right now. You know I love McBride. I was telling everyone last year that McBride
I
was going
loved
to
him.
take
I
that
loved
leap.
him as a prospect. I was so high on him as a prospect.
We were going to take, I was taking round 4, round 5 everywhere. Now he's worthy of that second round pick because as much as I love the wide receivers here, he would have been my next pick. Now we got it between, do you start to stretch on some of the quarterbacks? I'm not there yet. I think for me, it's again between 2 wide receivers. I think based on how I made my first pick might be a little bit different, but I'm taking Brian Thomas Jr. over Nico Collins. And I know that's gotten some attacks in the Discord. Some of the guys have been like, yo, Dad, like, why are you so low on Nico Collins? I'm not. Brian Thomas Jr. is 21. Nico's 26. Like if you have the same position with the same production, you go with the younger wide receiver. Brian Thomas Jr., from what we saw in college, translate into the pros, translate with Mac Jones being his quarterback for a good portion of the season. He's not going anywhere. He could go up. Like Brian Thomas Jr. is not going anywhere. He is an elite level wide receiver at this level. I do not see a sophomore slump because of what we saw, right? Like some people talk about sophomore slumps. It's not happening with Nabers and Brian Thomas Jr. It's just not going to happen. K-Money put them LSU boys, and that's right. Like these guys, LSU and Ohio State churn out elite wide receivers that are pro ready. And once we see it translated in the rookie year, it doesn't disappear. Like he is going to be there. Set it and forget it. This is your wide receiver 1 for the future. I'm all for it. And the difference being if Brian Thomas Jr. gets injured this year and Nico Collins gets injured, either of them tear an ACL. Now we're talking about Nico's going to be 27 and Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be 22. The trade value is massively different. So that's my only debate there. That's for a couple of you guys. Estevez, you're coming at me every time I put him in the different tier, but I'm Brian Thomas Jr. all day.
Yeah, I had to get my guy. I had to get my guy here. I love the running back position. I'm a big running back guy, and I love cornerstone running backs. You're getting a guy that's 20 years old here.
You're taking Ashton Junty over guys like Nico Collins, over Saquon Barkley, over Drake May. And I like him here. What's the highest you would take him, right? Like you're taking him in this spot. Would you take him over Lamb, Brown, Puka?
Taking him over BTJ for sure. I was going to take him over McBride until I realized the format is juiced out the gills for tight end. Definitely taking him over Puka. I'd probably take him anywhere from 203 to 205. I don't think you take him over Caleb or Lamb. I think you can take him over Amon-Ra, Herbert, Puka. Here's why. Because rookie running backs, especially when they're drafted in the first round, not even to mention first round, he's definitely going top 12 in my opinion. But say he slips and goes to like 20 with the Broncos. A rookie running back at his age with his pedigree comes into the NFL, right? Look at what Gibbs and Bijan did. They had like 240, 250 point seasons. They finished like barely in the top 10. They still had crazy high value. They held that value. Same with Breece Hall, another one that was like a 4th round, 3rd round startup pick. Kind of came in, had like a good flash rookie season, tore his ACL, still had a ton of value. Ashton Junty's going to go to the Cowboys. He's going to go to the Bears. He's going to go to one of these teams and be an absolute bell cow year 1, put up 300 fantasy points plus, finish as a top 5 to 10 guy, and instantly be like, everyone's going to say, okay, this guy should be the RB3 at worst. He should be going over all these wide receivers like BTJ, Nico Collins, all these guys that are putting up 250 to 270 fantasy. You want to win your league, you got to chase high upside players like Ashton Junty. And I'm doing this blind. I don't know where he goes in the draft, but this is where he should be going. Kind of like 208 to 203 range post draft, in my opinion. But this is a guy that he's going to get the draft capital. He checks every single box. Literally just almost broke the single season rushing record in college football. He's a bell cow running back. He's an elite talent, and he can do it all. So, yeah, give me this guy here all day.
I'm with you. And the nice part about this time of year is you're drafting the 101, not Ashton Junty. So a lot of times, I mean, Ashton Junty is going to be the 101, but you have that value of like that pick could go up. And when you're drafting, what I tell everybody with rookie picks is if you're drafting on the clock and you're debating between Brian Thomas Jr. and the 101, you take the 101. Whatever because that's going to go up no matter what. Can Brian Thomas Jr.'s value go up from now till May? No. Like there's no scenario where he goes up. Can Ashton Junty? Absolutely. And I think the 102s in that same area, a lot of people really debate that. Snoog, you're making me take all the wide receivers, and I don't like it because I'm a quarterback. I'm a running back kind of guy. I'm debating a couple of quarterbacks here. But I mean, at this point, this is where I trade back, but I'm taking Nico Collins. I think Nico Collins from a yard per route run basis, it's Rashee Rice, Nico Collins, and Puka Nacua putting up 3+ on a regular basis. Like Nico Collins, if he doesn't get injured this year, you're seeing a phenomenal ceiling. If he doesn't get injured, he's still up there right in that same spot with Puka Nacua and Amon-Ra St. Brown for me. So I don't need to talk a lot about Nico Collins. You know I love him. I think he's a great wide receiver. I just think I'm taking him over the quarterbacks here because I trust some of the quarterbacks later on in the draft. You're up?
Yeah, I'm going to keep things on brand here. I'm going to take my guy, CJ Stroud, because a lot of people are writing him off after a season where he had literally the worst offensive line and protection schemes with Bobby Slowick in that Texans offense all season long. He was a big reason why that team was winning games, but people don't understand that because they just box score watch. I watched every single game, every single snap of the Texans all season. He is still that same player that can make splash plays. He can throw the ball at all three levels. He's a high-end passer, high-end processor. He showed that he has some rushing upside. I think in his last 3 games, he had 40+ rushing yards in each game. I think we're going to see some more of that. I think we're going to see some like Dak Prescott before the injury, maybe a little bit of Deshaun Watson over there in his Texan days when he was rushing for 400, 500 yards. I think Stroud can get to 350 to 400 rushing yards and maybe 1 to 2 to 3 rushing touchdowns next year. But the main thing is Nick Caley coming over from that Sean McVay. I think Stroud fits a Sean McVay system so well because he's a high-end processor. He loves motion. That's how his offense was ran at Ohio State. A lot of motion, a lot of bubble screens, a lot of downfield throwing, attacking across the middle of the field. Nick Caley is my favorite offensive coordinator that they could have landed, so I hope it all works out there. But I'm just drafting a guy in 6-point passing. Dad, if you want to just pull up the board real quick, let's look at what we can land. Because if you look at the first 6 picks, everybody landed a quarterback in that first 1 through 6 range. Most drafts, I guarantee you, one of Caleb Williams or Justin Herbert will be available right at that Patrick Mahomes 106 pick in the second round. So I really do think like you can leave Drake May, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud. I really think you can land 4 of those guys in this range in the second round so that you're leaving with one of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes, and then a second quarterback in CJ Stroud, Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, and Drake May.
Yeah.
This is how I build my teams. I build them around elite quarterbacks, and then I go and attack and absolutely nail my wide receiver drafts in the 3rd through 6th round. And then you go get Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon around 7 and 8, and then you go win a championship. And that's how I built all of my teams. And then it also comes through rookie drafts.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are drafting 9 through 12 and double tapping wide receivers and running backs and passing on the quarterbacks, hoping that in the 3rd round reversal, they get this guy. Right now, I debate between the guys that should go late 2nd, Saquon Barkley, phenomenal season, getting up there in age. The 102, you know, if that's Travion Henderson, whatever, if that's your quarterback and they get the right landing spot. But I'm taking a guy that I know is going to increase in value. He was a lock to increase in value for us on a YouTube show that we did, you know, last year, right after the rookie draft. He's a lock to increase in value right now. And Snoog, there is a 0% chance, I'm saying this, 0% chance Drake May does not increase in value from today till the day after the NFL draft. Because one, they're either going to take an elite offensive tackle, or they're going to sign a T. Higgins, or they're going to draft a Tet McMillan, or multiple things. And we saw him grade out phenomenally at the quarterback position. Like, I prefer him over Stroud right now. And I just think Stroud had weapons in place, but it was a down year. May had a promising rookie season, no weapons in place. None. None. It was so bad. He is going to get, I would love it if they trade and they get a T. Higgins plus we see them get like Trey Harris in the second round or one of these other guys, like a wide receiver in that second round, or even get 2 rookies to build with him, get him in a Igbuka and some of these other guys, maybe get him a Jalen Royals in the early third or late second, wherever he's at. I think Drake May is going to skyrocket in value. He is my number 1 quarterback to insulate right now. If I can get May in a first for Mahomes, Herbert, any of these guys, I think I'm doing it. I'm doing it wherever I can. Yeah. Now it's the tricky part, Snoog. And I know you love May. We're getting a little high on time. We got to end up the second round. And now you're just like, who do you take with this pick?
Easy
you
pick
look
for
at
me.
It's easy for you?
Yeah. 6-point passing, give me Jordan Love. Another guy with 4,500 plus upside.
Snoog says screw the ADP. Screw
it. Drake May and Jordan Love right here, and Justin Herbert are 3 quarterbacks that have first-round startup upside as a talent, but they don't have the wide receiver 1 or weapons around them to do so. But they have, like, Jordan Love and Justin Herbert have the coaching staffs. CJ Stroud has the coaching staff and the young build around Pete. I think CJ Stroud's year would have been a lot better if Diggs and Tank Dell and Nico weren't hurt all year up and down. He had like Robert Woods and John Mechie running routes for most of the year. Like, I think these 4 guys all have the talent to jump into that first round startup area or that early second area, but they all are rock solid high end QB2s, but they're like good QB1 low end upside. So to me, it's like, okay, we got T. Higgins, we got a really solid draft with Emeka Egbuka, Luther Burden, Chet McMillan, even Travis Hunter. We got a bunch of players that could be traded. DK Metcalf. There's been some buzz around some other guys kind of being talked about like that. So to me, I'm thinking, okay, I can get a quarterback that can gain a ton of value, like you said, Dad, with a wide receiver 1 drafted. To me, I think that's a good chance that one of these guys lands like a T. Higgins or a wide receiver 1 in the NFL draft to help them. And Jordan Love's a guy that, when healthy, we've seen his upside as a passer and what he can do with an offense like that. So, and
Josh Jacobs is recruiting Devontae Adams. That's an instant chubby right there. Like, I'm moving him way up, and I like that pick. And hey, just on the clock, we got Reynolds, Rapp, and Shooty took Joe Burrow 4, Jalen Hurts 5. I love this because we're talking startup. Guys are doing it straight up. They're already doing it. A lot of you guys on YouTube are tuning into us for the first time. Make sure you guys check it out. We have the biggest growing Discord in all of Twitter. We want it to be in all of YouTube. It's the Smash Accept Patreon. We're going to help you guys with your rookie drafts, with your startup drafts. We have all of our rankings. It's the most, I want to say, interactive Discord you're going to get into. A lot of guys in the community have Discords, and in no way, shape, or form am I not saying that theirs are good. Someone said to me the other day, I'm between this Discord and that Discord, via Patreon. Why should I sign up for Smash Accept Patreon? And what do you do better than the other guy? And I said, I'm not going to talk trash on anybody else. It was another guy that I really respect in the community. I said, but what you're going to get here at Smash Accept is Snoog and I look at, even though when we had 1 person in the Discord to now over 550, we're going to diagnose it in the way that we would do it ourselves. A guy yesterday said, hey, Dad, what do you think of my first 4 rounds in the draft? And I go, I hate it. I would have done X, Y, and Z. You stretched on this. You went here. And he goes, ouch. But we're going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to lie. There's so many guys. I hated that in the beginning. People are like, what do you think of this? And they're like, oh, it's not too bad. And then they were saying something else afterwards. For me, I'm going to tell you truthfully. Snoog's going to tell you truthfully. We're going to say, this is what's going on here. This is what I would do. Let's fix it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or this is how I would handle my roster. This is the place that you want to be in right now, because Snoog and I 4 and 5x'd our money last year. Guys that were in the Discord, every single one of them improved their output. We're here to win money. We love playing with our friends, but we're here to win money. Snoog, let's do quick hitter here on the 3rd round. Yeah. Because we went really heavy in rounds 1 and 2 because we wanted to really give you guys, what we're thinking and how we're going there. We're going to go quick hitter for round 3 because we always get it done in under an hour. Snoog, this is the spot where most drafts it's going to be 3-round reversal. With this particular one, if I got Jordan Love and Josh Allen, I'm a baller. I'm adding Saquon Barkley. We talk about running backs. we've talked about tearing off Saquon Barkley, but if I started out with two stud running backs or two stud quarterbacks, I'm getting my alpha running back right there. You're up.
Yeah, this one's so tough. I'm so between three guys right now, but I'm going to go with Drake London here. He just has such a secure situation over like a guy like Garrett Wilson, who I was going to go, because he has at least a decent quarterback right now with Penix. He has a good offensive coordinator and head coaching staff. Like, there's just security around that situation in Atlanta, and the weapons around him are great. So I think Drake London's floor, like, he has that high 90 to 100 reception and 1,200 yards type outcome every year. So I'll go with that there.
I'm taking Marvin Harrison Jr. here since I already have two quarterbacks. Okay. I like him over the 102. Everyone acts like he had a bad season because he had 80 plus receptions, 885 receiving yards. If you look at rookies that have had 8 plus touchdowns and 800 plus receiving yards, you're looking at elite level company. You're looking at Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, like it is at Mike Evans, Odell Beckham Jr. Then there's a couple other guys you sprinkle in there, like a Chase Claypool, who was just out of nowhere. But I got to take him there over the 102 based on the way that this has started out.
Yeah, I'm going to go Garrett Wilson here. One of few wide receivers with 1,000 plus yards, 90 plus receptions, and through his first few seasons. I mean, he's a guy like Brock Bowers, like some of the worst quarterback play I've ever seen in my life. He's played with no coaches. He's played with the worst offensive coordinators. He's just never had it right for him. But I think there's a chance that he leaves this crappy Jets team, or he's going to get a big contract and Rodgers is gone. And that's honestly best case scenario is Rodgers leaves. So I'm excited they got a new head coach with Aaron Glenn. I think Garrett Wilson's a phenomenal talent. I don't see how you take Ladd McConkey over Garrett Wilson. I've been seeing that everywhere. They're just not on the same level skill-wise. I'll bank on Garrett Wilson still having that 100 or 1,000 plus yard and 100 plus reception upside with any quarterback he plays with, and 1,500 plus yard upside with a good quarterback.
I'm not taking Ladd over him, but I am taking the 102 over him for this build because the 102 will increase in value. It does give this guy flexibility here where he has Joe Burrow, Ashton Junty. Now I'm like, you know what? Give me the 102, not necessarily Ted McMillan.
Yeah,
but now I have it could be it could be Cam Ward. It could be this. I could trade it. And
could be Henderson.
People forget about the flexibility you could get in this part of the draft, right? But by taking the 102, if you bomb the next couple of picks, you have a pick to play with. If you end up reaching on a guy, now you're screwed. Let's hit these last 5 real quick here.
Yeah, give me Kyler Murray here. This is crazy good value, and I've been seeing him slip a lot. I probably would have taken him at the beginning of this round, but he's a guy that we've seen him be a very good fantasy player for his entire career. He just tore his ACL. I think it was not last year, the year before that. He was coming off it. So now he's even more removed from it. He's got the weapons around him now. Now it's just time for him to figure it out and for them to get a coaching staff that fits his skill set. They need to go get someone dynamic. They need a dynamic offensive-minded player and offensive-minded coach. So I think they're going to do that for the Cardinals, and Kyler Murray's going to bounce back big time.
I like that. My pick here, this is going to be a little bit – now you're really interested, right? Because you're just like, these guys don't have quarterbacks yet. You can debate Bo Nix here, but I'm actually I'm trading here.
I like the Bo Nix pick, but yeah.
I think I would take actually – the guys that I'm buying here in this area, I have listed as sells. So this is an area where I'm trying to avoid. But give me Bo Nix. Bo Nix again, quality rookie season, top 12 finish. He's gonna get better weapons. Not a lot to say there. Who are you taking here on this team that has double wide receivers?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with. Give me a cornerstone running back that I think is gonna bounce back in a big way. Too. Everybody would go Ladd McConkey there, and you saw I literally typed Ladd because I was about to do it, and then I said, wait a second. Give me someone that has RB1 overall upside or the potential to finish number 1 at the position. Breece Hall has that, and he has a new head coach coming from Detroit, Aaron Glenn, is a guy that's a defensive guy. He's going to want to pound the football. Breece Hall has that upside. Sign me up for him all day. He's one of the best backs in the league.
I'm debating a running back here, but I'm not on the Ladd train. I'm taking Jackson Smith-Njigba right here. Brock Bowers, Justin Herbert, Actually, no, go Ladd McConkey just because of the stack here. because he had Herbert. I'm going to do it.
I was going to say,
I actually like Jackson Smith and Jigba over Ladd McConkey. I think he has the way that they play. If you swap their situations, DK Metcalf might leave. I love taking Jackson Smith and Jigba here, but Ladd McConkey with the stack. This is what I tell everybody about stacks, right? You don't stretch for a stack. I've had people say, should I take Ladd over London because I would pair him with Justin Herbert? No, just no. Like if they're in the same tier, sure. But if you're stretching a tier, this is why tiers are so important. That's why we have them lined up this way in the Discord so you guys can make educated decisions. So Snoog, 3 more picks. You get 2, I get 1. Who you taking?
Yeah, this is where it starts to get tough here. I'm going to go with a big bounce back player. He's about to get paid this offseason. I love So this is me in my head. Like I'm in startup mode. I'm leaving the first 3 rounds with 2 quarterbacks on all these teams. That's my goal.
Yeah.
Like that's how I'm trying to navigate this space because I think now Brock's gone. The next guy you got Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Michael Penix. That's a massive gap in my opinion because Brock's still 24, 25 years old, going to get a massive contract in San Fran with Shanahan and that offensive line, an elite offensive plethora of weapons. Like sign me up for him. And he also has some rushing upside. He played really good at parts of this year, even though he was injured. So sign me up there with Brock Purdy in that late 3rd round range because there's so many good wide receivers and running backs left.
We're going to do a show just on how to trade in startups, but Cody Petrowiak says, did I get fleeced? Wanted to trade Mahomes. Only had 1 taker. Mahomes in the 504 or Purdy 106. Purdy is like a great guy to insulate down from. I think you're actually getting decent value. I would have liked to see the 306 honestly be a late first in another round yet. So I do think Mahomes' value does still win here a little bit. Snoog, we got 2 guys left. I have a real hard time. This guy already has a quarterback. I have a hard time not taking Devon A-Chain at this point. We talked about Breece Hall having RB1 upside. So does Devon A-Chain. I'm worried about the Tua injuries and what we've seen without him, but bring us home here at the 312.
Yeah, it's so close between these 2 wide receivers for me, but let's go with the upside. Like this is a guy that has paced 1,400 plus yards in 3 straight seasons. He had 1,000 yards in 10 games this year, and he was injured for most of the year with a hamstring injury and 7 touchdowns. Like I don't care if you think that Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown weren't good this year together because they were. They really were. And if he played a full 17 games, he would have finished top 5. He's 27 years old. He has the contract. He's tied to Philly for a while. He's there. Yeah. He's there to be the wide receiver 1 there. And he's happy now. He got a Super Bowl ring. He's a superstar. So yeah, I think this is right after this, JSN and then the 103 at the next 2 picks, and then it's a big tier drop off for me. And then it's you got Bucky, Jonathan Taylor, Sam Laporta, another 104, Rashee Rice, Baker Mayfield, some of those guys, but big tier off after these next 2 picks we would have done.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think this is a tricky spot because most leagues you're going to do a 3-round reversal. So, I mean, you're going to get one. Like I'm looking at Josh Allen with the 101. Man, if AJ Brown falls to the 312 and Jackson Smith and Jigba to the 401, and you got a quarterback at 212,
insane. I'm thinking about that too. If there's no 3-round reversal, it's honestly
this year. I think the 3-round reversal evens it out, but I think, man, that 3-4 turn is sexy. So I actually really like the 101 spot because the 3-4 round, we're talking about some really nice prospects that fall into the area. We're going to be talking about startups. We're going to be talking about rookie drafts for the next several months. If you guys don't subscribe to the YouTube channel, you guys don't follow Brock Dynasty on Twitter, you guys need to. We are putting out 5 videos a week right now. We're doing every single day. So if you like this, hit the like buttons, hit the smash subscribe button. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and enjoy the process.